All right, our next guest says our national debt is a threat to national security. Plain and simple. Joining us now, Andy Biggs. He's a Republican congressman from Arizona. Congressman, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us, sir.
Good to be with you, Stuart.
Now, several guests on this program have said, look, the national debt is going to create a debt bomb explosion, which will wreck our financial system. Is that your line of thinking?
Yes, it is. I think we're headed over the edge. You know, think of it as a waterfall. We're in the boat, and now we're almost to the point where we can't get out of the flow. We're heading over unless we do something immediately.
When do you think the debt bomb may explode if nothing is done?
Well, I think since the Medicare trust fund is going to be defunct in about 8 years, you're looking about an 8 to 10 year period of time that we have to get this thing fixed.
You see, that's always the problem, isn't it? It's always off in the future. Yeah. Well, you know, we see this terrible thing coming, but it's off in the future. So there's always a tendency to put it off. Don't do anything about it. Because you want to do something about it, it will cause pain right now. And no politician wants to inflict pain right now. They just don't want to do that.
That's right. It's a path-dependent approach. We're on the suboptimum path. We know we are. But to exit that path and get on an optimal path is short-term pain, just as you say. And so they view it as too high of a political cost. But if we don't, every day that we delay, we drop off some options that we might have to fix this problem and get our deficit back. That's what the real issue is. We have a structural deficit. We spend more than we bring in. So we borrow all that money.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we've got a 3.8% unemployment rate, historically low, a booming economy, and yet we've got, what, an $800 billion deficit. But in simple terms, just tell us what you would do. I mean, it's a huge problem. What would you do about it now?
Well, the first thing you do is I would do a bigger rescission package. We're doing a $15 billion rescission package off a $1.3 trillion omnibus bill when we should have spent about $700 billion in that omnibus bill instead of $1.3 trillion.
You don't have the votes, Congressman. They're not there.
Well, I can't help that because it gets to the point that you and I were just talking about. Yeah, my colleagues don't want to inflict short-term pain, which is to say we can't continue funding these programs. That's the immediate short-term answer, is to say let's get our budget under a balanced form for the first time since 1997. Why don't we do that? No political will.
Last one. You've got to reform Social Security to save it, and you've got to reform Medicare to save it.
Right.
That's the third rail of American politics. We go back to the same story. You can't do it.
Well, you either try to do it where you can protect people's interests, keep your promises, because if you don't start doing that now, we should have done that 25 years ago, but if you don't start doing it now, then in 10 years, you'll have no choice. You'll have no choice. You can inflate the currency, you can default on your debt, you can try to raise taxes and kill your economy. These are the choices that we'll be looking at in about 8 to 10 years, and I think it's unfair to pose that on our future generation.
Fair point. Congressman Andy Biggs, thanks for joining us, sir. The early warning, 10 years in advance, but we'll take it. Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stuart.